Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. In the name of Allah, those who do not hope for meeting us and are satisfied with the life of this world and are content with it. In the name of Allah, who said, anyone there are among you those who desire this world, and there are among you those who desire the hereafter. In the name of Allah, who said, it is He who has created you, and there are among you those who believe, and there are among you those who disbelieve. Welcome you all to this hall. In this lecture, workshop, I don't know what you want to call it, in this event, I'm going to talk about 9 reasons why I think that Islam is a better alternative for people in our world. And then we are going to talk about why certain people think that atheism is a better alternative than religion in general and Islam in particular. First of all, I'm going to give you my own experience as a Muslim. Of course, my brother here didn't present me in the beginning, so I'm going to present myself. I got my PhD in social sciences from the University of Leicester. I got my applied linguistics masters from the University of Nottingham. I got my applied linguistics bachelor's from the University of King Saud in Saudi Arabia, and also a bachelor's in Islamic law. And I'm interested in Islamic thought and contemporary thought as a whole, trying to convey my message as a Muslim to the people and have dialogue with them. Thank you very much for being with us again. The first reason why I think Islam constitutes a better alternative for our world is its simplicity and rationality. The simplicity of the faith, you just have to believe in one God. The rationality of the faith, you don't have many gods. It's not a complex religion, it's not a complex creed. It's very simple, straightforward and rational. It meets the dictates of common sense. What I also think why Islam is a better alternative for our world is its internal consistency. You can never find real contradictions within the system of Islam, although you may find apparent contradictions in some way or another, but for real contradictions, it is almost impossible to detect inside the system of Islamic law and Sharia. Another reason why I think Islam presents a good alternative or a better alternative for our world is external consistency. And I mean by this external consistency with the facts of the world. The established facts of science, the established facts of sociology, the established facts of psychology, and all fields of established knowledge and common sense experience or daily experience. I cannot find, from my own experience as a researcher in science and also the experiences of ordinary life, I could not find one instance where there is real contradiction between Islam and the facts of the external world. If you happen to have any, for example, different views on this topic, and you can raise some issues which may represent some apparent contradictions with the apparent external world, I'm here to discuss them with you, and you're most welcome. A fourth element why I think Islam presents a better alternative is the fundamental sources of Islam, which are the Quran and the life of the Prophet. The documented life of the Prophet are well defined and also well preserved. Not only well defined, but also well preserved. Contrary to many of the sources of other religions, if you're talking about Hinduism or Buddhism or, for example, Christianity or Judaism, I have plenty of research, Middle Eastern research and Eastern research in, for example, referee journals of instances about the sources being deviating from the original source or having adulterations and changes throughout history. But I could not find a single instance which represents counter evidence for the fact that the Quran is not preserved as it was revealed, as well as the Sunnah of the Prophet. The Sunnah of the Prophet basically means the way of the life of the Prophet, how it was documented and transmitted to us through different generations. Fifthly, one of the elements which I think makes Islam a better alternative is its comprehensiveness. It actually covers all areas of life. It's not about worshipping Allah in a mosque, synagogue, or church only. It's not a private issue in your life. It's about how you live your whole life, in your family, in your work, because you know, our life is not about work only. Our life is not about school. Our life is not about markets. It's not about looking for the children only. It's about all of this. This is our life. Islam is about how to live your whole life in a meaningful way. An interesting point which I have found about Islam, which makes it a candidate as a better alternative, is its rejection of innovation, and between brackets, bid'ah in Arabic. Innovation means introducing alien or foreign concepts into the original religion. This is something which we have a whole apparatus, a whole system, a whole methodology of detecting certain alien and foreign concepts of the religion and eradicating them time after time. This actually secures the purity of the religion throughout history. So we have the scholars of the Sunnah have actually developed this methodology to detect these innovations and try to get rid of them. And you know, there are certain factions, certain splinters and groups which claim to be belonging to Islam. But this methodology allows you to know what is the truth, what is the pure essence of Islam, and then you can know which is the closest group to the truth of the well-defined and well-preserved sources. Another thing about the interesting thing about Islam is that its rejection of secularism, because Islam doesn't need it in the first place. Certain religions needed secularism in order to abolish the clash between religion in private life and religion as a political agenda. But Islam is a complete way of life. And because it is a complete way of life to govern or administer your whole issues, it is something that is so close to every conduct you do in your whole life, you don't need secularism, because Islam is a whole way of life. Secularism is for those religions who are incapable of governing the entire regions or entire domains of human experience. Islam does not suffer from this problem or from this shortage. Finally, the most important thing, or let's say, before finally, there is a well-defined and well-disciplined methodology for issuing verdicts and judgments in Islam. And I mean by that legal or jurisprudential judgments or verdicts. This is called usul al-fiqh, the fundamentals of understanding. It is a whole system designed to help you understand the original texts correctly and try to elicit the verdicts or judgments of the religion in a secure and efficient way. You can say that this is a hermeneutical device by which you understand the texts, and also you issue the right verdicts for the right situations and different life issues. Finally, and the most important thing which I find about Islam as a whole, its emphasis on meaning. I had a journey 1 year ago to Ireland. I had a meeting in a place called the Athlone Institute. It's outside Dublin. And we had this meeting with different businessmen. We were talking about work and business. We were talking about, you know, our children in school and so forth. We had, you know, a long talk about this. And then I said something which actually made them stand for a while and open their mouths. What is it? I said, life is not about work. Life is not about school. Life is not about eating, swimming, and enjoying our time. It is much more precious. It is much more bigger than that. Life is about the meaning of your entire existence. Why are you here? Where are you going? Your beloved ones, why are they here? Where are they going? This fundamental aspect of life is satisfactorily inclusively dealt with by Islam. Meaning is a fundamental cornerstone of the Islamic message, the meaning of life. This is why I started with the verses of the Quran. The verses of the Quran, when Allah Azza wa Jal said, Allah, the God of Islam, said, it is He who created you. There is among you those who believe and those who disbelieve. It is actually telling us a reality about ourselves. Those who believe in this world only and disbelieve in the hereafter. Do they believe in absolute meaning? Do they believe in absolute happiness? Or do they believe just in temporary enjoyment? Do they actually estimate or, let's say, respect their own souls and their own selves? In another verse, Allah says, do not think that we have created you in vain. This is the thought of those who disbelieve. Do not think we have created you in vain. This is the thought of those who disbelieve. So these meanings revolve around the concept of meaning as a whole, the meaning of our life. These are 9 things which I thought were worth sharing with you. Why I think Islam presents a better alternative. If you have any questions or comments, you're most welcome to share them with me, and then maybe we can talk about the other issue.
It's an open Q&A session now. Those who are late, unfortunately, cannot react, but you can comment or ask anything.
Yeah, definitely. Most welcome. Okay, go ahead. Alaykum salam.
So, if I was to look at it from a non-Muslim's louder?
Use the mic.
I think I'm loud enough. I don't need the mic
For the recording.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Apparently it's not working.
As well.
Yeah, nothing's working. So I'll just speak up.
Try this one, Akhi. Try this one. This is the meaning of life. Okay. Okay.
So if I were to look at it from a non-Muslim's perspective,
That's right.
Why should I choose Islam when evidently if I lead a non-religious life, I'm just more free to do whatever I want and maximize my freedom and my happiness?
That's right.
Why put restrictions on myself? How is that a logical choice?
Well, this is self-interest. You're talking about self-interest or utilitarian ends. This is actually met by Islam. Actually, to maximize your ego interest or your self-interest to its utmost limit is to be in heaven, isn't it? So actually Islam fulfills this basic desire. It does not eradicate it. It does not confront it, but it actually manages it and gives it the right direction for you as a human being, you know, an honored being, as said in the Quran. So this is how I would approach it. And this is why I suggested another topic today. We can talk about, if we have plenty of time, which is why do certain people think that atheism is a better alternative? We can have a talk about this, for example, later on. But this is how I would approach this question. Islam is not the antithesis of self-interest. Thank you. I don't know. Okay.
So, like, let's say you said that Islam is the Islamic antithesis to free will, it's like all the ultimate.
What I think.
Reward.
What I think, Abdullah.
Yeah,
what think, Abdullah?
Is that going to heaven is the ultimate reward? But what if, let's say, I don't believe in like the afterlife or stuff like that?
With Islam, this is absolutely normal.
Sorry?
With Islam, this is absolutely normal. I already recited the verse which says, we have created you, and there are among you those who disbelieve and those who believe.
But what would you say?
Because this is part and parcel of enjoying free will.
Oh, okay.
We have free will to do that. We have free will not to like heaven. We have free will to dislike the hereafter. So this is part of Allah's gracious mercy. He gave us free will, and it is genuine. This is the decisive point. Our free will is genuine. It's not illusory. And because it's genuine, we can choose to dislike the hereafter.
not dislike, but more like not believing.
Even, I mean, you can go at worst issues, at the worst level, you can dislike God if you want. So this is why atheism is possible in our world. It is part of Allah's plan to have believers and disbelievers, those who respect the meaning of life and the meaning of being created, and those who do not. Yes, go ahead. Thank you very much.
So there are two kinds of people.
Relax.
Sorry, okay.
Relax.
There are two kinds of people I've met so far. The kind of people who either believe in one God but not necessarily Islam, or the kind of people who don't want to limit themselves to a certain religion but just believe that if you're just generally a good person in the world and you don't hurt anyone, then they're content, they're satisfied with that. So how do you approach someone like that? And like, also another question, for those people who believe in one God, La ilaha illallah, but not necessarily Islam or Christianity or Judaism or any of those, in Islam, I guess we believe that if you don't believe in La ilaha illallah, when you are dying, you end up not going to heaven. But is that necessarily the case for these people also?
Well, the scholars of Islam have talked about this sensitive issue. They said those people who know Islam very well, they are well acquainted with Islam, they know what the meaning of Islam is, and they choose not to believe in it. We as Muslims believe, according to the Quran, that they are going actually beyond Allah's mercy, because they deliberately chose not to choose Islam. And there are those people who actually chose other religions or other beliefs, but they don't know about Islam. They are ignorant about it. The scholars of Islam, such as Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, and other scholars, have said these people will be spared Allah's punishment because they are innocent. They haven't committed this guilt deliberately, you see, by intention. So this is the thing which we believe according to the sources of the Quran and the Sunnah. And believing in Allah is not something new in history, actually. Believing in a creator of the universe and human beings, believing in an initiator of meaning in this world, is not only about Islam. It has been, for example, Charles Darwin said of one of his personal letters to one of his friends, he said, as to the existence of a ruler for the universe, this has been acknowledged by some of the greatest minds that have ever existed. Charles Darwin is saying that. So it's not about, Islam is not about is there a God or not. This has been acknowledged throughout history by different nations and generations. But it's about how to relate with him in the correct way. This is what Islam is about. And this is why the religion of Islam is about the message, the basic simple message that has been transmitted from Noah, which is Tawheed. Tawheed means worshipping the one true God, from Noah to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's the same fundamental message. It's not about whether there exists a God or not. It's about worshipping him and submitting yourself to him in the right way. And when we say in the right way, this means that following the revelation. Now, I concede that Christianity had a revelation. Judaism had a revelation. And there were before that some revelations. But these revelations, according to historical evidence and according also to the Quran, they were unique to these people, peculiar to these people. But the Quran was the last revelation in a series of revelations throughout history. And this revelation is for all people, for all humanity. So this is the difference, that is usually addressed by the scholars of Islam. And so we have to believe in it, because actually, since we have free will to choose, we cannot do anything to the people. We cannot force them to accept what we think is the truth. Yes?
She has a question.
Do you have a mic? Is it working? Oh, okay.
So as someone who does not speak Arabic and can't come into the fullness of revelation.
Again?
As someone who doesn't speak Arabic and so can't come into the fullness of understanding or appreciation from Quran or the revelation, how does that person learn to be with Allah?
Actually, the scholars have talked about this, scholars of Islam. They have been well aware of this. It's enough to get the meaning not the literal meaning of every verse in the Quran, the fundamental meaning of the Quran, assisted by the understanding of scholars who can help. Language is not a condition for becoming a Muslim. Language is not a condition for entering into Allah's mercy. It is just getting the message. If you get the message of the Quran, this is enough. And then you can learn the Arabic language as much as you can. It's just as simple as that. The simple message of Islam, we don't need to translate, learn Arabic to learn that Allah is one and we should worship Him. We don't need to learn Arabic in order to understand that Muhammad is the last prophet in a series of prophets throughout history. And then you can learn, for example, Arabic in order to conduct your salah, your prayer. And this also, it's according to your effort. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah as much as you can. Not completely, but as much as you can. So this actually gives you an indication of the realistic nature of Islam. It's not ideal, everything should be ideal, but the realistic nature of the religion of Islam. Thank you very much.
So nowadays, there are people who think that Islam is terrorism. So how can you approach those people in a very simple way and try to convince them it's not that?
Yeah, I will convince them in a very simple way. I would say our terrorism is a reaction. And their terrorism is an initiation. So a terrorism which is a reaction is not like a terrorism which has been initiated against the other worlds and other cultures. So I do not actually endorse terrorism as it is done by some Muslim groups, but I understand their position as a reaction, defending their own lands and their own honor. I have to be transparent about this. I'm sorry, but I have to say this. If terrorism coming from outside our lands stops, the terrorism in a reactionary sense will stop. It's just as simple as that. We have to search for the roots. Noam Chomsky, you know Noam Chomsky? When he was asked about the problem of Islamic terrorism, he said we should stop our terrorism first, and people will stop terrorizing us. You see, so we have to be realistic and transparent about these issues. And although I am strictly against, for example, what Daesh is up to in real life situations, and ISIS, ISIS or ISIS, okay. And but I still understand why they're doing this, although it's wrong. It's like cornering a cat in the corner, and you're asking this cat to be calm, but it will jump in your face and scratch you, because it wants to live, it wants to survive. So the basic rights of surviving and living a decent life has to be going in our life. How can we secure this if there are foreign forces forcing us to behave in a way which we do not like to behave in? Although I'm strictly against terrorist actions and conducts. This is how I would answer it. Yes?
It's more a question of clarification. I think you were speaking maybe a bit fast when you said this, but somebody else could listen to this and say, aha, because you were talking about, you said Allah, and then you said, this is the God of Islam. But, but God of Islam, Christianity, Judaism.
The name, it's only the name, yes. Although Allah has no nationality. He has no nationality. He's, actually, if you go to, I invite you to read this book. It's available on the internet PDF copy, The Only Way Out. I have traced the etymology of the word Allah in linguistically speaking, as a linguist. I found Allah to be existing in even old religions. It is an old word, very ancient word, taking different forms until finally it has become the official name of the one true God in Islam, Allah. So yes, thank you for bringing up this point. Any further points you'd like to raise? Okay, shall we go to the... Yes, go on.
Actually, yes, I do have a question.